This is the Shawn Yankey Show.
And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack.
This episode of the Shawn Yankey Show is being brought to you by the support of viewers like me. We realize the importance of independent media and truth in this time of mass deceit and propaganda. We have decided to fight for and support it to keep it alive. You can help us in this fight for truth. Contribute at patreon.com/Shawn Yankey. Thanks for coming to the show. It'll begin soon.
Man, he is not lying when he says it's going to begin soon. Get in here. It is time again for the Shawn Yankey Show. I am Shawn, and this is the Shawn Yankey Show. So you are in the right place at the right time, no matter where you're at or when you're watching. Even if you're here later on, you're right on time because you cannot be late to this show. It's impossible. Don't know that we're live on Rumble. Someone let me know. I'm going to try refreshing it and see what happens. I don't see that we're there. It's our second night there. Hopefully we are. But, yep, there I am. All right, we're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. We just added Rumble. So no matter where you're at, please participate in the conversation because this is, when it's live, a discussion-driven chat show. Like we have a theme every night and a plan. Tonight is Conspiracy Theories and Chill. We do that on Wednesdays. But you never really know where it's going to go because it's driven by the comments. So let me say hello to everybody that's here and get that started too. Our discussion, that's a big part of this show. So hey, Lee and Dolores, how are you? Joan, Tammy, Patricia's here, all right. Hey, Mark, what's up, Kathy? And then let me say hi to Rumble. I got to go over and say hi to Rumble. Rumble's still new to the streaming, and I'm sure they'll work this out, but right now they don't pull the comments in. All the other platforms, it pulls right into the studio. But Night Owl 62's here on Rumble. Hey, how you doing? And looks like Lee stopped by earlier and commented too. But no matter where you're at, take part, and I'll be checking in over on Rumble as well to see what you're talking about. We got a lot to get into though tonight, big night, and I want to start talking about what we're going to begin covering more. And get into that on Conspiracy Theories and Chill. But like always, anything at all that you want to discuss, bring it up. And we could end up there. You know, you never know where we're going to go. It's your husband's 68th birthday? Happy birthday, Kathy's husband. That's awesome. Mark says he's got some conspiracies. Man, tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. Let's get into it. All right, Joan. Yep, I see that I am now. I hope it started on time and stuff. It seems to have a bit of a delay. I noticed last night at the end of the show, about a minute and a half almost, it felt like it ended on Rumble after it ended everywhere else. So I'm like, wow, that's quite a delay. Sometimes I'll see it up to like 30 seconds or so, you know, between what's on mobile, for instance, versus what's live. But wow, and Rumble, it was a lot. Hey, Ty, how are you? Why don't you answer your messages? I don't know. I don't know why that is. I see it. You saw it. You know that I know that. Why don't you answer? I don't understand. I even sent you a funny GIF. Where'd he go? You ghosted me. there's something I want to announce, but I haven't heard back from you. You got to answer me in your messages. There's a message waiting for me. Maybe your cat is the one that actually saw it. Open the app. You never saw it. It's there. Go check it out. I have something I want to know. Patricia wants to know what he would like for his next birthday. Kathy, it's never too early to start looking into that. Kamala Harris wants you to start buying your Christmas presents right now. So I think you messaged me originally under Malachi Vaden. And if memory serves, that's why I replied. But you had asked me a question. I like the idea, and I was going to tell everybody else about it, but I don't have confirmation. Hey, Gwendolyn, how are you guys? All right, more people getting in. That's good. Let me check back in with Rumble. Still got Night Owl, but we got some people in. I like it so far. It's going good over there. But remember to Rumble the video and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be over here building a home on Rumble now. And from what I hear, we'll be safe there. I hear there's not the censorship craziness that there is on these other platforms. It's been tough on these. So I'm looking forward to building up Rumble. Make sure you go over there and check it out. But if you're ready, tonight is Wednesday. And like I said, on Wednesday nights, we do conspiracy theories and chill. So I'm ready to get started. I got a lot I want to get into with you tonight. But like I said, take part, though. Anything you want to talk about, mention it. And we may end up there. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Conspiracy Theories and Chill. And we gather here every week and discuss any and all conspiracy theories. And we talk about absolutely everything. Nothing is off limits. In fact, we have discussed quite a few good ones and a lot that were even brand new to me. And that's what we do on Wednesday nights, is we gather and we discuss conspiracy theories together. Now, in addition to our discussions, which, as I said, can lead anywhere, we also do original, in-depth conspiracy theories and chill videos that we put out on individual topics. Usually we vote on the topic with a poll. That's how we pick most of them. And currently, we're working on a new series that I want to do that will be exploring the Montauk project. Now, this one is going to be something that we keep revisiting. I don't see this series having an actual end to it, same as the actual Montauk project itself, in fact. But the series itself is going to be ongoing and cover different aspects of the Montauk project and sub-projects, etc. And I'm still deciding what chunk of Montauk that I want to break off first and go into on our first original video on the topic. I've got quite a few in mind, but I'm having a little trouble deciding on which one. Now, I was talking about it with Babels, and she thinks if we're going to cover Montauk, that we have to start it with an introduction video. And in a way, she's right, I think. If the series was going to be like our last series that we did on Tesla and the New Yorker Hotel, but I don't really see this one being a complete story in the way that series was. This one will be more open-ended. So essentially, it doesn't require an actual introduction to the Montauk project itself, but this will also be an ongoing discussion around here while this series plays out and as we revisit it. So it really wouldn't be a bad idea to lay down that foundation for anyone that may be new to the whole subject. So for Babels and anyone else that the Montauk project may be new information to, tonight We're going to discuss the project itself, as well as the bigger project it spawned from. The Montauk project itself is part of an even larger CIA project called MK Ultra. Now, MK Ultra was an enormous project with 149 known sub-projects ran covertly by the CIA, admittedly for almost 3 decades, fully funded by taxpayer money, and every sick and twisted thing that this series looking into just the Montauk project, for instance, is going to cover and get into was all sanctioned and funded by the U.S. government. President Bill Clinton even issued a formal apology to the test subjects and victims of Project MK Ultra. So the Montauk project's origins are in the MK Ultra program, or are they? Is that the beginning, or does it go back even further than that? The truth is, experiments being conducted in MK Ultra are much older than the CIA itself even. They predate its founding. Hell, the entire U.S. scientific team that is behind Project MK Ultra was imported from Nazi Germany, actually. Now, this goes back much further than that. But yes, all this research they were doing was already being done before them by Adolf Hitler's Nazi regime. Then, after the war, we gobbled up those Nazi scientists and brought them here to the United States, and then we created whole government agencies for them to use to continue their research. So did we start it there? Is that the beginning? Did all of this start in the 1940s? Well, actually, no. It's even much older than that. So, Babels, I love you, but it's hard to know where to begin with this one, but I'm going to do my best to attempt it. And for now, that'd probably be easier if we just focus back in on the Montauk project itself, not so much on its origins or its intentions, or rather, but on its intentions. And what was the goal of the Montauk project, for instance? The research being conducted in the MK Ultra sub-project called Montauk was for the purpose of developing psychological warfare techniques, as well as much more exotic research dealing with teleportation, parallel dimensions, time and space travel, as well as linking human minds with computers and much more. And the methods used in these horrific experiments were unimaginably awful. Just the worst possible things you can imagine. The people experimented on in this research were real, just actual people, not willing volunteers, mind you, or college students looking for extra cash by being test subjects, although there was that going on as well. But I'm speaking about unknowing and unwilling people, abducted men, women, and children, primarily children. Because in many MK Ultra experiments, children were the most desired test subjects for many different reasons. And with government authority, they abducted and experimented on countless innocent individuals. Now, you've seen many of these experiments actually on TV and in movies, and always just thought they were pretend or exaggerated, when in reality, they're real. And if anything, they're downplayed and made to seem sci-fi in nature, but they're very real. In fact, the actual details of the things that they put human beings through with government support is mind-blowing. And that is only judging it by what is admitted to and declassified. When you dig deeper than that and hear survivor stories of these experiments, and etc., you begin to realize the scope of it all. And as I said earlier, this is hard to put a starting point on. And that is also because they were experimenting with things at Montauk, for instance, that are ancient and ancient knowledge. Things such as unlocking the true potential of the human mind and how to control and use that potential. Or entering other dimensions, bringing things back through from other dimensions. Traveling through time, teleportation, you name it. They had a sub-project for it. And for nearly 30 documented years, this went on fully funded by and endorsed by our own government. And here in a bit, I can even show you, if you want, a United States president publicly apologizing for what we did to real citizens. This is real. It's been declassified, even though heavily redacted. It's out there for anybody who wants to go look and verify it for themselves, which, as I always encourage you to do, you should go do that. I want you to. It's all there. As I said, it's heavily redacted. You can only imagine what's not put out, or what wasn't shredded. There was a shredding spree in the 1970s, I think 73, when heat started first coming onto this project. Public attention is what I mean by heat. So there's all kinds of things, but just what you can go find, you can verify a lot of this. So I think as a beginning to the Montauk series, what we should do, or what we'll focus on for now, is just firmly establish that while it may sound at times like we're going to be describing things from a sci-fi movie or fiction novel, they're real, and the experiments conducted were performed on real people. So as far as the world of topics that this series into the Montauk Project will open up, as I have said, I have a few areas I'd like to start out with, but tonight I thought what we'd do is discuss areas of the project that you would like to see covered during the series as well. There's all kinds of things to go through just in this one sub-project. So let's discuss the Montauk Project together for a little bit, and any angle or aspect of it that you think we should focus on. And if any other people like Babels are here with us, help them understand and introduce them to this topic as well. But there, like I said, has been a lot of references to it in the media, movies, fiction, any kind of fiction, books even. It's all out there, but it's presented as fictional, like Stranger Things, that show on Netflix, entirely based on Montauk. It was originally called Montauk. I was even set there, but then they had to change it all to fictional names. I liked the movie Firestarter a lot growing up. The book more than the movie. The book's always better. And that's based on Montauk experiments. There's all kinds of these things. Firefly, the character River, the experiments done on her. These are the things they were doing. They show them to you in different ways. A lot of different examples of it. But they always say, oh, it's pretend. No, they were doing this decades. They say never successfully. I always deny it. And they also say they stopped. But if you really look into that, you find out it's still going on. In the private sector, they just corporatized it all and hide it that way with dark money. But I'm looking for what you guys are talking about to start us off talking. Firestarter is an excellent book, Helen. A great book. It goes deeply into the projects. The character herself, but her parents were subjected to these military experiments, and it goes into the facility, all of it, in detail. Sarah says that she's aware of brain implants and alien communication relative to Montauk. These were things they were experimenting with. This is not fantasy. They'll tell you that. They'll admit they were. You know, like I said, I can show you Bill Clinton apologizing for doing it, but they'll say, no, we tried to do that. We did horrific things to people, and we're very sorry, but it didn't work, you know. But then you'll hear stories from like Preston Nichols and Duncan Cameron or other people about things, and did it though? I mean, why'd you invest so much money and time into something if it wasn't fruitful, you know? And you were obviously interested in that research in that field because you sought those scientists out and brought them here. A lot of them are war criminals, and you protected them from their crimes and gave them high-paying jobs, prestigious careers, running organizations that you set up for them. There's a lot of things there. Kathy says Charlie's her favorite King character until Dolores Claiborne. Charlie, the little girl from Firestarter. The shop is what it was called in that series, and how he refers to it. He refers to the shop in a couple different stories, actually. But yeah, that's what he calls it. But And it went by many different names under many different projects. You know, they only know about 149 that's openly admitted to. There's much more than that. And since it's been going on since, who knows what it's evolved into. In just a second, I wanted to say something else. Danon, who's a regular here on Facebook, was live today. She did a live today. It was good. I was watching some of it before the show. I didn't even find out about it. I was writing, so I didn't even find out about it till late, but I caught what I could of it. It was pretty good. It's interesting. Junior, Joan, yeah. That was something they say they brought through. They opened a portal and brought this creature through. And Paul's talked about it a few times. They also describe connecting human beings to computers and being able to not only make the computer operate, but to do the reverse and operate the human being like a puppet. Hey, CJ, I saw that you got out of Facebook jail today. Congratulations on being kicked out of your adult timeout, or let out of your adult timeout, rather. It's ridiculous, this stuff that goes on social media. This censorship is crazy, but where we find ourselves. But that's also why we're trying out the new platform on Rumble, so we're over there now. Moletta says, empty apartment buildings in New York were actually institutes to perform these experiments on the homeless. The homeless were heavily experimented on. It's where they got a lot of people, runaways, things like this. Drug addicts, she says, and prostitutes, yes. The test subjects would agree to subject themselves to these horrific experiments in exchange for housing and or their choice of drug. Something else that is interesting about MKUltra and Montauk and all that stuff and that research they were doing, they also were, they bought up all the LSD there was and were distributing it, not just to people in different groups, but to scientific research as well, and mental institutions and prisons to do different experiments on their inmates. They believed they were going to unlock a lot of human potential in the mind with it, is what they say. But they would also have prostitutes that would trick men into coming into a hotel room and then give them a dose, an enormous dose of LSD, and then leave them in there, and there was just cameras everywhere, and they watch them. All kinds of crazy shit. The Low Men. There's a lot of references in Stephen King to all of this, actually. You know, a lot of these people in the big clubs seem to be in the know as well. He references a Tesla device, too, in the Dark Tower series, except they describe it as an orb. Hey, Jessica and Joaquin, Roseanne. A lot of people came in, Mark, while we were talking. Let me check back in with Rumble. There's people on Rumble. Go ahead and comment. I'm checking back in with you. Your comments aren't pulling in yet. I think they'll work that out over time. But I am checking in to see who's talking over here. Say hi and let us know. It's a discussion-driven show, and we're having a conversation at this point right now about Montauk, but it might go anywhere. You never know. Conspiracy theory night sometimes is hard to get a hold of. Facebook does need an agree button. They have a button for everything else. You know, LifeLog is a lot of fun to play with. Yeah, Paul, psychiatric hospitals were doing experiments on the homeless in the name of science for tuberculosis. Joan wants to know more about the Philadelphia experiment. This was another offshoot experiment, and it's where they were trying to make a ship disappear from radar is what they wanted to do. What they ended up doing was making it disappear entirely. They were using Tesla technology. He didn't want to help them, so they were using a device of his and plans and things of his, but not with his support. he actually stepped in and did begin helping them after what ended up happening at the Philadelphia experiment. But when they turned it on, instead of just disappearing from radar, which it did do, it then also disappeared entirely, and is said to have entered back into reality some 40 years later. But people were in weird spots. It would have, the best way I've heard it described, and materialized and then dematerialized and then rematerialized. And wherever you were when it did that and became solid again is where you were. So some people were stuck in walls or in the floor. Then everybody that was alive and survived it was insane. Hey, Aaron. Good to see you here. Yeah, the USS Eldridge was the name of the boat that they made disappear. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to be getting into. One of the things I was thinking of making one of the first videos in the series on is the Montauk chair, which is referenced in a lot of movies as well. Another one that was mentioned is the Montauk monster. That would be a good one to do. There's a lot of different ones you could cover. Junior would be a good one, just going into that and this being that they supposedly brought through from another reality, another dimension. For me, just the fact that they invested so much resources and so much time and just even created agencies to do it all gives it all credence. They wouldn't have done that. There's no reason for it. And then you trace it back that the research being done is even much older than any of all that. It's even more proof that there is so much potential being hidden, and things and technologies and things that they understand about the real workings of stuff. And that's what that's all for. But that's also what those agencies were set up to deceive humanity about. Paul says the Montauk Kids is another rabbit hole we could do a video on in this series. That'd be good. Monarch. That's why I wore this one tonight with the Monarch butterfly on it. That's why I chose this shirt tonight. Neuralink. That's modern technology that is in the corporate sector, but would remind you a lot of what I just mentioned earlier about humans and machines working together, using the receptors in your brain. Remember, Clinton last night was talking about receptors in the brain. Patricia said somebody eventually got to do a video covering Tom O'Neill's massive book, Chaos, about Charles Manson and MK Ultra. Who, I've never read that book, but I believe Charles Manson was MK Ultra. And I also don't believe they ever stopped doing that. Hey, Lori. Lori wants to know about the super soldier aspect of Montauk. That'd be something really good to go into as well. So like I was saying, they were trying to unlock different things about human potential and stuff like that, and things they could do to make super soldiers. And the things they would do to try to do these things as well were just the worst things you can imagine. Manson is an awesome rabbit hole. Oh, you're right. Just the actual story of him even. But you start going into the other things that one can get pretty deep. You think Kamal is MK? I've been hearing that. It's not impossible. But yeah, all the other things though that were mentioned, for anybody else that might be new to it, look them up. They're all out there. Look up Operation Paperclip. It's verifiable. We weren't the only country that gobbled up those scientists, though. There's these things they're looking into in these projects. All these elite are interested in this knowledge, and it's older than any of these organizations. Okay, right on. I'll check it out. She says that book deserves a Pulitzer. Very cool. But what aspects of the Montauk project interest you guys, and would you like to explore, or is there anything else you guys want to get into? Because this one goes a lot of different directions. That's another reason why it's hard to get a hold of, really, and wrap your head around it, especially when you start factoring in how old some of this stuff is. Like someone mentioned the Monarch program, and a lot of that's centered around trauma-based mind control, and that practice is ancient. Shit goes way, way back. Ty recommends Dark Alliance by Gary Webb. Patricia says she likes anything having to do with consciousness studies and time travel. Those are very interesting topics, especially if they're explored in a way that's not constrained by the bought-off science of the mainstream establishment, because that is designed so that you can't even think in a way that would allow you to understand most things. Gideon says he has a theory that Korea tried to nuke Hawaii back in 2018. I've never heard that one. That's one I'd have to look into. So you're saying we're going to nuke Hawaii? Or tried to, as he's saying, attempted it. So would it have been shot down maybe? With their, what was it called when Reagan wanted to put it up? Star Wars? He called it Star Wars, didn't he? Going into individual scientists, Jones said. And the backstory of them. Trisha says he might be talking about when Hawaii got that alert on their phones. I remember that. I remember what she's talking about. And then the media kind of did a little story covering that up. It could be, or it could have been what they said. It really almost never is, though, right? Be fascinating to find out the truth of that. It'd be something to look into. I'll have to put that on a poll. Like we always pick the original topic videos with a poll. I'll add that. Look into that. But I got to kind of rig it next time we do one. Vote for stone walls. I always make it where you can vote for multiple topics, but Joan's been trying to get stone walls forever. I don't know how I cover it. It's interesting, though, and you do find them everywhere. Trudy says another interesting thing would be to go into all the patents that came out of the programs. Gideon's talking about that theory again. He says a month before Korea was firing missiles over Japan, and a month after, Trump makes peace with Korea. I'm going to look it up, man. I'm going to look into it. Hey, Chris, how are you? Paul says NBC just happened to be at the emergency alert station when the alerts were sent out. Jones says they let people freak out there in Hawaii for 45 minutes before they corrected it in the media. You'd have to help me with stone walls, especially where to start with it. And a lot of times that's my problem. Like with this, I don't know where to begin. I guess I'm just going to focus on the project itself, unless it's necessary to backtrack it and give the backstory. Patricia says, apparently there's a book. A guy in a Tartaria group talked about those gray stone walls. Was offering to pay $100 for a copy, and she found him one. I don't know if she's referencing that book, but I think she is referencing walls probably that book was in reference to, if that made any sense. Samuel says the Vril are putting worms in the eye of their victims and taking over the human body. The essence of the human who is implanted with the worm is lost. Check out the Black Eye Club. Hitler was very into that as well. That was something he was deeply looking into, the occult and things like that. And hey, KT, you can't be late. You're right on time. And then you can always check it out again. And a good excuse to do it would be to go look at our new channel on Rumble and subscribe while you're there and give it a rumble. I found out last night you can't do too many of those, though, because on the Facebook feed, for example, after the show, I go through and I like comments. On Rumble, you can't do that. I did like 3 in a row, and it's like, whoop, you better slow down. You're doing that too fast. Put me in a timeout. A little like Reddit. Reddit does that too if you're sharing or liking too quickly. I guess because you look like a bot. It makes sense. Right. Well, they're doing that with their media that they took over with Operation Mockingbird, which was also a branch of MK Ultra. A lot of this influx of all these scientists and researchers and their agenda even was to brainwash the American people and continue all this. A regime that you're not allowed to mention. I think I mentioned it a couple times. I'll probably get some kind of copyright strike, even though we didn't play a video. You're not supposed to talk about it because it never fell. It relocated. Like I said, we weren't the only company that gobbled up these people. Chris says, eat at Tony's restaurant in Birch Run. And if you do, Tony better send me a cut. You know, I'm not greedy. Just be an affiliate like Dr. Squatch. Do that. Give me like 5 cents of every steak I sell for you, and I'll talk about you. Jones says these walls could be older than the pyramids. And who knows how old those are. You know, because that's something else that's interesting is the flaws that are found even in like carbon dating. A lot of the bullshit they make up. That stuff's interesting too, as there's disputes to how old the pyramids and the Sphinx and all that even is. I wish it pulled in the Rumble comments. That I'm trying to check in though and see what's going on over there. I hope it doesn't come off as distracting because it's hard to do. Walls, it's explain it better than I'm explaining it, Joan. I get what she's saying, but I don't know how to put it into words. They're found all over the world. When you understand what she's talking about, you'll get it. If you might have read that book you got for that guy, it probably would have made sense too. I just don't know how to explain it real good. That's why I was saying she'd have to help me because I really don't even know how to cover it. We'd spent more time on it, really, and now I feel trapped because I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have brought this up. I don't know how to talk about it. Sarah says, dad, medical mom, environmental. I don't know what that meant, but I like that you got me out of that downward spiral. She was born into a family of scientists. That's what she was referencing. Trisha says, you know about the one they found in northern Siberia, right? Bigger stones than anywhere else. And that's probably some of the stuff she's talking about too, the size of these stones, the things they can't explain about other ancient structures. And I think a lot of that would make sense if you use their knowledge, the hidden knowledge, the ancient knowledge and stuff they know that they don't want you to know, truth of things. But what do you guys want to get into? What do you want to talk about? We can talk more about Montauk, but you're going to have to help me because I don't know where you want to start, what you want to get into. But it's interesting to me just how much has actually just even been shown to you when you hear about different things or look into different experiments that they did, for instance, and then it'll hit you. Oh, they did that in that movie. They've shown you this shit, but they're always like, oh, it's crazy. It's science fiction. They were attempting to do this shit. Or it reminds me as well, like the Israeli space guy. I forget what he was. He headed like their space organization or something, I want to say. I don't remember. Anyways, he was talking about the aliens. They don't want us to know about them because we wouldn't understand what space is. He's telling you the truth in there because you wouldn't understand what it is. It's not what you've been told. They understand it, and that allows them things and access to things as well that they use and experiment with. To this day, I don't think any of this has stopped, but that's what they're playing with. I don't know why you do that, because that's really only useful information to anyone in your area. Paul is making oil. He's a fantastic chef. It's a good kind of oil. It is, Gwendolyn, yes, RSO. He makes his own. I need to figure that out, how to do that for myself. I probably should get my curator license and go ahead and do that. That'd be beneficial for me and help me be more self-sufficient. It'd be good for both things. Jones says stone walls that run through miles and miles of unoccupied land that they try to pass off as field stones from farmers' fields from planting, but they're not. They are flat quarried stone and would have taken thousands of years to build, working 24/7. Oh, you do too? Gwendolyn also makes her own RSO. You're going to have to teach me when it becomes time, and hopefully that's soon. For your son's seizures, she makes it. This is very beneficial cannabis. I know this is kind of off topic from conspiracies, but it's not though, really, because it's a conspiracy. Why everybody's so ignorant about it? They conspired to lie to you about what it even is. No, again, Bert wants to know if he missed the show. Again, and this is a core concept. You cannot be late. You did not miss it. We're still live right now, even. But, and it's conspiracy theory night. So whatever you want to talk about, Bert, go ahead. Right now, I was talking about cannabis a little bit because it came up. We're talking about treating seizures, for example, with RSO. Many things can be treated with it. And just people have been lied to. It was a whole conspiracy. They conspired to misinform the public. Even changed the name to a slang. Used all kinds of things, including racism, to demonize it. And now people are ignorant to it. RSO is the cure for cancer. Gwendolyn says kills cancer too. That's proven. And it's true, and they don't want you to know that. There's like right now with the current shenanigans going on, the medical experiment, etc. They don't want you to know about real treatments for that either. Trissa was researching cannabis today, trying to find sativa that doesn't smell like skunk. Bayless complains about the smell of cannabis as well. I don't see what you guys are talking about. I'm not saying I don't understand. They both have like an earthy smell or what. I get it. They're similar smells. But skunk is offensive to me. And cannabis isn't. Bert says he keeps asking about Bob Marley's death, but gets no show about it. Well, it's got to win a poll. Ask Joan how long she's been trying to get stone walls made, for instance. Just that one. The only one. Here's how you do it. I'm going to give you the secret, Bert. Your top fan, Paul. His ideas never lose on the poll. Almost everyone he's added, because I always make it to where you can add whatever you want. Almost everyone he's added wins, and we end up having to do it. Including the last one we did, that I had to break up into 4 parts. It was so big. So there's all these steps involved in getting a video made anymore. Hoops to jump through. But I'm going to look into it personally. No, they don't. One says that the medical mafia doesn't want healthy people. They want repeat customers. It's exactly what they want. What the whole thing's for. We don't have a healthcare system, especially in the United States. They're drug dealers at best. I do too. Dana says she loves the smell. I do too. I don't know what y'all are talking about, honestly. Sometimes I'll just open the jar and smell it. I really don't get it, but I can't say I don't know that it exists, that people don't like it, find it offensive. I hope you find that sativa strain, and I hope that all works out. I was doing my own investigation, a little research of my own, into the difference between Illinois and Missouri cannabis. Now, a little backstory, we talked about it a little. The levels on the scientific level, I'm trying to find one. That's why I'm looking around. I know I got one around here somewhere. From Illinois. Here's one. All right. So, for instance, on the testing label, THC level is 1.49. This happens to be concentrate. And then the THCA level is 76.259. It's almost all THCA. This is a concentrate label from Missouri, and the scientific label on this one is THC 84.8, THCA 0.0. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because I had heard about this, that Missouri was all THC. And I knew from experience, because I go there because it's cheaper, that this one is almost always all THCA. I've never seen it the other way. Someone told me they had once, but I've never seen it. I think they're making that up. Now, I've had it explained a little better scientifically. Actually entered human trials before I got the scientific explanation. Babel's looked it up. THC actually becomes THC if you add heat to it and activate it, but at a lower percentage. So you have to do some math to find out what the actual THC percentage is in the Illinois cannabis, but it ends up being much lower than what they're telling you. So the end of the experiment turned out to be that Missouri cannabis is better. It's stronger, and they're getting less crazy on the price. So two good news things came out of that investigation. Because I hadn't even asked about a concentrate since the last time I asked, and that was about a year ago. And a half a gram was $80. You guys are fucking insane. It is better though, only in the sense that it's stronger. I thought it would be different because I thought they would be two different things, but it turns out that ends up being THC. It just at a lower rate. So they're the same thing. It's just clearly stronger. Gwendolyn says that her favorite beer ends up happening to be the name behind the fear porn agenda going on. A lot of people like that beer. I wonder, and I never looked for myself, what it did to the stock price, because you always hear there's no such thing as bad publicity. But I wonder if it affected the stock price of that company. Bert says he smells less skunky beer and think that might be why he also drinks Corona. I don't know. Edward likes skunky beer, and I don't really like beer that much. Trisha just finished a 12-pack of the Rona. Sarah likes lime. Everybody here likes Rona. Big Rona fans in the room. Miller Genuine Draft is a little better, but it's hard to find, she says. Patricia wants to know, for instance, are there any cannabis conspiracies? Other than the misinformation campaign to demonize cannabis, I wonder, though. I thought I had one. I thought I did. This THCA versus THC conspiracy. I still find it a little deceptive, honestly. I think maybe you should be more forthright and tell me exactly how much THC I'm going to end up with here, instead of playing these games where I got to do math and times it by 0.87 whatever. Babel's looked it up. I don't remember what it is. To find out what I'm actually getting. That's some bullshit. Why am I doing that? Why don't you do that step for me? All the money I'm paying. Make me do math. Patricia says there's a place in Humboldt called Murder Mountain where people go to work in the cannabis industry and then disappear. There you go. There you go. So Bob Marley and Murder Mountain need to go on the next poll. And I'm going to put one up. I don't know when I want to promise you it'll be there, but I'm going to put one up soon. Because the Montauk thing, that's going to be a series that we keep going back and forth to. Like I said, little chunks. That's why I was thinking an introduction video to it would be kind of hard to do, and then would be a little out of place because it's not going to be like Tesla where it was 4 parts that fit together and have to do with each other. This would only have to do with each other in the sense that they're from the same project. Nicole says, hey, Nicole. A lot of people talking about beer. I find this happens almost every conspiracy theories and chill night. I don't know why it does. It's weird. It really is, because it's one of the more fun nights and one of the nights we could get into really, really interesting conversations. But seems to be that weird ones pop off, and then real off-topic stuff, and hardly ever about what we were actually discussing. It's odd to me. It's really weird. And then we'll talk about it tomorrow. Like it'll end up getting referenced the rest of the week. We'll keep coming back to this. You watch. I've seen it happen a bunch of times. Nicole's on a smoke break. Well, we were talking about Montauk earlier. It's conspiracy theory night. Now we've been in cannabis and beer somehow. Like I said, you never really know where it's going to go. I started off, but then it goes, I kind of let go of the wheel at a certain point. I believe you can. You can't in Ohio. You can in Missouri if you get a cultivator card. You have to have a special card. Sarah says, is there a new, more recent project name than Montauk morphed into? That'd be hard because it's going to be into the private sector and corporate area now, and underground even, like the tower at Montauk, for instance, still gives out a signal. People claim they see people come and go from there. All of that's underground. Who's to say what's still even in operation officially? Then you got to follow everything to wherever it may be being done in the private sector. Like I think the Neuralink, like Joan was talking about earlier, these are things they've hired gun out to the private sector to. Okay, you work on that now, and we'll sneak you this money and this funding and give you this protection. Lori says, I don't know what she's referencing, but she's talking about Child Protective Services. A lot of these kids vanish through there. There's a lot of trafficking done through Child Protective Services. That's true. Marie says she found more gel fibers in a foot soak, fulvic acid foot soak. That's fascinating. Took 20 minutes. Sweet. Sometimes I click on these, I have no idea what they are. Paul says in Michigan, you can legally grow up to 12 plants with no card needed. I told you she won't move, though. Bagels ain't going nowhere. So you can, like in your backyard, or do you have to have them contained? Like in Missouri, okay, something's telling me Rumble just got kicked, but it still looks like it's live to me. It does look paused, though. Interesting. It's telling me that my server key became invalid. Nope, I still look live. I don't know, I refreshed the page. It still looks live to me, but I did just get a message from Rumble that my server key wasn't valid. Trudy says, to answer your question, Rona Beer didn't suffer during the pandemic. If anything, they had more clickbaits and kept the brand in the forefront of people's mind, and the fact that alcohol shops were still open even helped. Kind of thought that. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Now Rumble looks back to normal. In the studio, it had a red exclamation point, but now it's back to normal. It looked like we paused over there, but it looks like we're okay now. I don't know what happened there. Still new over on Rumble. And they're still new to the streaming. It's just in its beta right now. John says Pennsylvania does legalize. They are not going to allow growing. I don't know. I haven't looked into what states allow growing and what states don't. Edward says there's 25 here in Facebook. All right. And Rumble shows 8 right now. And it shows that we're still live because I see Edward's comment over there. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure. I have to watch it back, see if it stumbles. But we talked about a little bit of everything here tonight. I hope that was a decent introduction into Montauk for anybody that hadn't heard of it or didn't know, wasn't aware. It was a little all over the place because I really don't know how to get a hold of it. It's much more than just the CIA even or the Nazis even, or it goes much further back than that. And then they attribute a lot of it to one man, but I don't think any of that's true either, or most of it anyway. Gwendolyn says, shit pisses me off. They make a ton of money off of people. Just spends around $800 a month to keep up with her son. Needs to be able to grow. You're not allowed to where you are? That'd be hard, especially, you're making your own medicine with the RSO. Yep, there's Gwendolyn's comment over on Rumble. There's 15 people there, so everything seems fine. Oh, you're in Ohio, Gwendolyn? Gwendolyn says you're not allowed to grow in Ohio. From what I heard from Jack, who used to come around all the time, you could grow in Oregon too. But Oregon's out of their damn mind now. The restrictions there are crazy. Trudy says, love MK Ultra, so intriguing. Motherfuckers do that shit from a distance. They've perfected this stuff at this point. It never stopped. And at this point, it's surgical. Especially their propaganda. Look how effective it is. How much they're able to do with it. Their intended purpose in Operation Mockingbird, when they infiltrated the media, was to make sure that everything the American people believed was a lie. And I think that they exceeded that. They got to the point where they're able to make them believe absolutely anything, no matter how crazy it is, and get them to do anything. Edward wants to know what I think about the new UFO series. And Tom DeLonge of Blink 182 guy, to the Stars Academy. Disinformation? I don't know, man. He seems genuine. But he's in an organization, that could be disinformation. He was, I don't remember where I saw him. It was Joe Rogan's podcast, I think. He was on talking about that organization and what they were doing and they were involved in. I think he's genuine, though. I think he really believes what he's saying. He doesn't seem to even fully be in the know of what that organization is doing, to my memory, when Joe would press him. So I'd have to look into it deeper, the organization itself. I can't even remember specifically any of the things that he claimed. He was some interesting stuff, but I just think he's being genuine himself. Trudy says Frank Zappa, The Slime, was about your television. Very good song. I think he also has a really cool picture, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know why I doubt my memory so much. It's usually pretty decent, actually. Where he's got a toilet upstairs and then the pipe running down, and the pipe comes into the back of the TV. I think that's a pretty good expression in that picture as well of that general idea. Bill Hicks said that watching TV was like taking black spray paint to your third eye. It's a really good way of saying it too. That's what it's designed to do. It's a weapon. Patricia says she wonders about a lot of these guys. Dr. Stephen Greer, for example, not 100% confident there. A lot of disinformation agents, and they'll also give you a little truth too in there. Like I was mentioning with the Israeli space guy. Some of what he's saying is true, especially that detail about most people wouldn't even understand what outer space is. It definitely ain't what you've been told it is. That is a good shot, James. That's a great picture. But it's true, though. That's all it's for. CJ's talking about PSYOP. That's something interesting to look into. And then the more you understand that, the more you'll understand what they're constantly doing to you and how they're doing it. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. You know what? We used to have a regular around here, Steve. He doesn't come anymore. I upset him because of my opinion on the fact, and I think it's a fact, that we've never been to the moon. Steve is very passionate that we have. Multiple times he believes in NASA and what they stand for and what they say they've done, despite the fact that they say that they can't do it again and can't really even explain to you how they did it. But, all that aside, Steve got passionately upset at me constantly denying it and stopped coming. He would often say that Bill Hicks, who's one of my heroes in stand-up comedy, and I think is a comic genius, brilliant, took from us too early, faked his death, and became Alex Jones. Now, while there are a lot of interesting points to that, because before Steve left us, he did convince me to look into it, and I did. And there's a lot of stuff there, similar things. Teeth look similar in pictures, ears, his face, even side by side. There's a good one where you can look it up where they cut Bill Hicks' face in half and put Alex Jones' face on the other side. It almost matches. Perfect. I get that. They look a lot like each other. Here's my problem. Bill Hicks was a comic genius. His writing was fantastic. Alex Jones, while a great performer, can't say he's not because he's been very successful doing it. A lot of people enjoy him. One of the most visited websites in the world. He's very good at what he does. While that's true, I don't see any moments of brilliance. And I've definitely never seen him that I can remember be funny. I think Bill, even if he is a great actor, let's say he's a much better actor than I would ever even realize, because he never did get much of a break to prove it or show it. Maybe he's fantastic, best actor ever. How does he hide him and never be funny, like accidentally even, all this time? Trisha says Alex and Bill Hicks lived at the same time. Rose says Steve was the one who turned her on to us. Steve was here for a long, long time. He got really, really mad at me about the moon, though. And, I haven't seen him in forever. It's weird how that happens, because it happens all the time. I can think of 5, 6 examples off the top of my head. People that would have been here regularly for long periods of time, and one subject, never know what it's going to be, will piss somebody off to a level that they'll never, ever come again. I'm sure you see the same thing being true on your Facebook timeline. Certain people get stuck and they just can't. You can't get past it anymore. Gwendolyn says that Buzz Aldrin has said in several and especially more recent interviews that we never went to the moon. There's even video that you can look up where a little girl asks him. She asks him, in fact, why we've never been back. And he laughs and he's like, that's a really good question. But and he tells her the best way to answer it is that we never went. He does. It's like there's a moment in him and he just can't lie to this kid. And he gets caught on camera. And then you see him catch himself, realize he's on camera, and kind of try to pull it back. But he never denies it either, though. He just tries to pull it back a little bit. And it's just a moment where you can tell he's telling her the truth. He's like, you know why? Because we never went. Rose, I don't blame you. She's referencing the period of time. And like I said last night, when I'm wrong, I own it. I'm wrong often. I did get tricked by Bernie that second time, and I did lose a lot of people in the process. But I really believed in it, more the idea of it than Bernie himself that second time, but just the idea and that we could do these things. But yeah, I'm glad you're back. A lot of people did leave during that, but I also have to say that a lot of them did come back. And I'm glad you gave me a second chance, because I do own it when I realize I'm wrong. And I was wrong then. You got me good that second time. Oh, sweet. Nissa, you made it to Montana? Right on. I'm glad to hear it. I thought it went out. This went out like 3 times. I don't even know why I attempt this when I'm trying to talk. It don't make no sense. It's just a habit, something for my hand to do. That's why I usually play with that pen. Edward says he actually came to us during the Bernie time. Joan did as well. And I have to say we did keep a lot of those people too. But we did lose a lot of those people as well. Paul likes the fact that the Challenger crew is all still working and alive today, most of which using their real names. And that's true. Patricia says it's all right because she voted for Obama twice. We get fooled, we get tricked. We're good people, we have good intentions, and you want to believe in a lot of this stuff. At least that's the way it is for me. I wanted to believe, especially in us. It was all that not me, us propaganda bullshit that he used. in hindsight that really won me over. The focus on how we could do this. Because that part's true. Like I said, these disinformation agents so often sprinkle truth. That was true. A lot of what Bernie said is true. We could do this. It's the holding on to a leader like Bernie, for instance, that's the problem. You don't need him. That's the lie they're selling you. You don't need any of that. You can do it, though. That part was true. And that's what he pulled me in with. So, but the best lies have truth in them. Obama's an excellent snake oil salesman. Bernie, great. Trump, awesome. Even if you don't like him, he raised money for both parties like no other. He was great at it. And you can keep tracing that back. Bill Clinton was awesome. Very smooth. Very smooth. That's their purpose and their function. To be a front man. Because they're not really running shit. The government at the national stage, especially the national stage, is theatrics. It's like wrestling for people too intellectual for wrestling, to make them feel and give them the illusion that they're involved and that something's happening, when the only thing that happens is what the moneyed interests want to happen. No, we're never getting a refund, James. That $27 is gone. We're never getting that back. I'm not mad, though. He got me. I get it, though. I understand why he got me and how he got me. I learned from it. I got a sticker. Yeah, $27. I got a $27 t-shirt hanging in the closet. Everything costed $27. Lolly says Snake didn't need oil at all. Bought a case. Smooth fucker. I don't know what she's referencing, but that was funny. A lot of times these could be comments where you're talking to each other. Oh, I lost Rumble again, at least on my end. I don't have to look into what's going on with that. I think some of that is just that it's new over there. I don't either, Edward, and that's why I try to be that way as well. He says he doesn't want to live in an echo chamber, and we all need to learn how to agree to disagree. In a lot of ways you can. And a lot of times you really could. You know, you may even passionately disagree, but why don't you look inward and see why? There's a lot of times it's no reason to cut off somebody that you enjoy most of what they do because of one thing you just don't like. Maybe Steve don't want to watch on Conspiracy Theory Night. The moon doesn't come up most of the time. But, you know, it's likely to come up on a Wednesday night. Brent, for example, he doesn't like Tuesday. Thinks it's sacrilegious to work on yourself. So he doesn't come on Tuesday. It's a simple fix. Trisha mentions Krista McAuliffe. And she says is the least convincing of the alive Challenger astronauts to her, actually. And again, she could be talking to somebody else, but that was the teacher, right? From the Challenger. I remember watching that in school when it exploded. The best ever. Paul says that Trump is the best fundraiser that the Democratic Party has ever had. Republican Party as well raises money for both parties simultaneously, like no other. And I believe personally that he's planning to run in 24. I just hope less people get pulled into the bullshit, because I don't think there's any chance you're going to see any kind of a legit election that he could possibly win in any way. It'll just be a show. They'll raise a shit ton of money and trick people and put off progress. That's all. Joan says that Rumble's still up, and then somebody else says it never went down. Good. Because on my end, it told me it did twice. But, you know, that'll get the kinks worked out of it and all of that over time, I'm sure. And I think it's going to work out good there, because I noticed there was a lot of viewers there tonight. Every time I checked in at Rumble, there was a good amount of people there, especially for only the second show. That's a really good sign. I like that. So I'm going to stick with it, especially since I'm already financially tied to it for at least a month, because you had to pay to stream on Rumble. It's $25 a month. So I'm committed at least for a month. the Rumble, but I think I'm going to like it here. It's pretty cool so far. A couple of hiccups, but other than that. But thanks to everybody for hanging out tonight and having this conversation and discussing everything that we discussed. You know, it's hard to even say now because we talked about so many different things. I had a great time. I hope you did too. And tomorrow night is rant night. So come back. We're going to be complaining about stuff, venting our frustrations, getting it all out to get ready for Friday when Nick Stenson's coming back on the show. And Nick's been on a few times. It's been a long time, though. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Nick. We got a lot to get into. And that's what we got going on the rest of the week. But have a great night. Enjoy the rest of it. And I'll see you tomorrow.